Welcome to the regular meeting of the Cape Coral City Council. Today is October 30th, 2024. This meeting now comes to order. Please stand for the invocation and pledge allegiance by Councilmember Shepherd.
Heavenly Father, thank you for continuing to bless the city of Cape Coral. We ask that at this time that you bring peace to our world and give wisdom and guidance to all world leaders. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, Your Honor. Before I call the roll, I would like to announce that Councilmember Welsh has asked to be excused, and I will mark him so. Mayor Gunter?
Here.
Councilmembers Carr?
Here.
Costin? Here. Hayden?
Here.
Long? Here. Shepherd?
Here.
Steinke?
Here.
7 present, 1 excused.
Okay, thank you. Item 5 is changes to the agenda. The only change that I have a request from city management is if we can continue the approval of minutes from the meeting of 10/16, that will be brought back at a later meeting. Other than that, there's no other requested changes. Any changes from council, or I will entertain a motion accordingly.
Motion to approve with the change.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Carr?
Aye.
Costin? Aye. Gunter?
Aye.
Hayden?
Aye.
Long? Aye. Shepherd? Aye. Steinke?
Aye.
7 ayes, motion carried.
Okay, item 6 is recognitions and achievements. 6A is the tribute to the veterans. Since this is our last meeting before Veterans Day, we will honor them today. Good evening to everyone, fellow citizens and veterans. As we approach Veterans Day, let us reflect on the sacrifices made by those who have served our nation. Today, I ask that we honor their courage, resilience, and dedication to safeguard our freedoms and our democracy. Please rise, and if able, for our national anthem that is sung by Emily Feifler.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
At this time, I ask if there are any veterans present here today in our meeting, to please stand so we can honor you for your service and sacrifice to our community. Thank you. May we always remember the veterans who are no longer with us also, and keep their families in their thoughts and prayers. And I've said this many times. Freedom isn't free, and they surely paid the ultimate price for our freedoms. We'll now invite you to watch a special video tribute that highlights the courage and commitment of our veterans and remind us of the sacrifices that they made for all of us. Please play the video.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear. To support and defend. The Constitution of the United States. Against all enemies. Foreign and domestic. And to bear true faith. And allegiance to the same. That I will obey. The orders of. The President of the United States. And the orders of. Those officers. Appointed over me. According to regulations. And the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God.
We celebrate Veterans Day on the anniversary of the armistice that ended World War I. The armistice that began on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. The timing of this holiday is quite deliberate in terms of historical fact. But somehow it always seems quite fitting to me that this day comes deep in autumn when the colors are muted and the days seem to invite contemplation. It is, in a way, an odd thing to honor those who died in defense of our country, in defense of us, in wars far away. The imagination plays a trick. We see these soldiers in our mind as old and wise, but most of them were boys when they died, and they gave up two lives, the one they were living and the one they would have lived. When they died, they gave up their chance to be husbands and fathers and grandfathers. They gave up their chance to be revered old men. They gave up everything for our country, for us. And all we can do is remember. I will not fail thee nor forsake thee. In memory of those who gave the last full measure of devotion, may our efforts to achieve lasting peace gain strength. Let us make a vow to our dead. Let us show them by our actions that we understand what they died for. Strengthened by their courage, heartened by their value, and borne by their memory, let us continue to stand for the ideals for which they lived and died.
In the long history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger. I do not shrink from this responsibility. I welcome it. I do not believe that any of us would exchange places with any other people or any other generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it. We shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe to assure the survival and the success of liberty.
Thank you for joining us in honoring our veterans today. As we approach Veterans Day on November 11th, I want to remind you of our city's Veterans Day Parade, which will be held on Thursday, November 9th at 11 a.m. on Cape Coral Parkway. This event is the opportunity for our community to come together, express our gratitude, and show our veterans how much their service means to all of us. I encourage each of you to attend, bring your families, and help us fill the streets to celebrate our veterans. If you see a veteran, please take a moment to thank them. Let them know that their service has not gone unnoticed and will never be forgotten. Freedom isn't free, and it is through their sacrifices that we enjoy the privileges that we have today. Thank you. May God bless our veterans here in Cape Coral, in the state of Florida, and throughout our great country. We're forever indebted for your service to our country. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, 6B, is Community Recognitions Award, and I'll turn that over to Mr. City Manager.
Tonight's Community Recognition Award goes to John and Carter Dapo. On October 13th, during widespread power outages from Hurricane Milton, a dangerous fire ignited in southeast Cape Coral. By chance, John and Carter were driving by just as the fire broke out. Without hesitation, they sprang into action, first using a fire extinguisher, then a garden hose to control the flames. The fire was caused by fumes from a leaking generator igniting as the garage door was opened, making their swift response essential in containing the damage until firefighters arrived. Thanks to John and Carter's quick actions, the fire was kept under control and no injuries were reported. Today we honor John and Carter Dapo with the Community's Recognition Award for their compassion, bravery, and neighborly spirit that defines Cape Coral. Thank you, John and Carter, for stepping up when it mattered most. On behalf of the city, we're proud to present this well-deserved Community Recognition Award.
One thing I want to clarify too, must have been a typo in my report here. The Veterans Day Parade, I believe, is on Saturday, November 9th at 11 a.m. In my report here, it says Thursday, so I wanted to clarify that for the public. The Veterans Day Parade, Cape Coral Parkway, November 9th, which is a Saturday at 11 a.m. Okay, we'll move on to next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes. The only approval that we had on there was the item that we moved, which will be at a future meeting. So we'll move on to item 8, is citizens input time. Maximum 60 minutes is set on the input of citizens on matters concerning city government, 3 minutes per individual. Please remember to state your name for the record, and we'll use the podium to my left, your right.
Good afternoon. Gary Eldred. That's a tough act to follow right there. So I'm in a good mood today, obviously for a lot of reasons. One, to thank a couple people. Obviously, I live in Southwest Cape Coral, and the paving company that did a fine job down there, because I live in the Southwest, finally I see my tax dollars at work. With no disruptions whatsoever. Cape Coral Parkway, Sands, Agua Linda, El Dorado, and then also Mohawk. With no disruptions whatsoever. They work diligently at night with traffic patterns, so I commend whoever was responsible for that. Much appreciated. Secondly, I'd like to thank Maureen Bice and Eric. This has been an ongoing effort to get the decorative street lights along Cape Coral Parkway looking nice for the holidays, and they've kept me informed quite a lot. I know a couple weeks ago they given them $1 million, and I was by there late last night, and almost all the lights are working properly. They've kept me informed of that. It was just something that was near and dear to my heart. And I believe there's only about 10 lights out as we speak, and hopefully those will take place before the holidays to make that area look really, really nice, because we want to take pride in our downtown city. Second of all, I am an advocate of code enforcement. I definitely do my efforts in my community to make sure that people take care of their property, and I want to thank code enforcement. When I call them, they do respond, they do call me back, and I don't do it frivolously, and I appreciate their efforts. And last but not least, the cleanup of Waste Pro. Obviously, due to Hurricane Milton, there's been a tremendous amount of waste on the side of the street, and they finally came by our street the other day. And if you just go up there and thank those guys, and just give them a little pat on the back and maybe a tip, that goes a long ways. And last but not least, thank you for the 3 outgoing members of City Council. We definitely didn't see eye to eye on probably 90% of the things that were discussed, but I appreciate your service. Hopefully the new 3 or 4, hopefully 4 that come in, will take a more conservative approach to the things on the agenda, like spending and accountability, but I do appreciate their service. I know it's a tough gig with people that come up to here and hate you so much, to like you so much. So thank you very much.
Thank you. You're not allowed to bring that sign up, sir.
Well, it was for my fearless warrior. I saved it. Hurricane Milton was blowing around. I thought he was going to be here. But Mayor, you can give it to him. Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council, Lou Navarra, Cape Coral resident. I wish you would have warned us about this change. I went up the stairs. Anyway, we won't waste time on that. I haven't been here for quite a while, and in the immortal words of Johnny Street, City Council, Fort Myers, he said the political atmosphere is toxic. Then he voted himself a $14,000 stipend, and then you guys voted your own. I want to just talk today about some city issues. I'm not going to worry about those big presentations I mentioned, like code enforcement, police reform, budget review, and city charter. Let's move forward. I think the Hurricane Milton cleanup is botched up. We did better than Ian. I've called Waste Pro, and the supervisor doesn't even call you back. But we had garbage for 2 weeks, then we had recycle for 2 weeks, and the waste, horticulture is still laying out there. That's been a month. I want to ask you, Mayor, you guys settled the lawsuit, and you had $5 that you were going to refund us. I didn't forget about that. Where is it? I never saw it in my bill, and you raised our bill, and I'd like payment of that with 8% interest like the IRS billed me. Can you think about that? Street signs. You need to send somebody out. They really got torn up again. I hope you have a plan to fix them. We still have a lot of boat docks and stuff like that, but they said that's the homeowner. I still think it's blight, though, and I agree with you, Mayor. We don't want this place like Lehigh. 311's not working again. Calls shunted to Collier County. Everybody said, well, use the 574 number, but why bother? If 311 don't work, I don't want to spend the money. Just cancel the 311 and refund us a tax refund. The park and yacht club are closed. I wondered why you didn't wait to have the veterans things at the J.C. Park, but I guess it's being torn up. Loch Ness Monster, after we paid millions of dollars, you won. I hope it does not become an ecological disaster. Time will tell, just like that song, Sky Pilot, in Vietnam War. Loch Ness Monster, we talked about that. Leaving on a positive note, the old golf course, I'm glad you bought it. I think you should make it the old golf course, sell off Coral Oaks. It's too hard to play. We're duffers. It's been in arrears ever since you built it. You have to budget it.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome, Mayor. It's good to see you.
You too. And your sidekick. Anyone else wishing to speak? Come on up, sir.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for allowing me to speak a little bit. First of all, I want to say thank you for that veterans presentation. I didn't think anything could get to me anymore. I'm pretty jaded and old and stuff, but that really got to me. It brought tears to an old man's eyes. So what I'm here to talk about is your resolution number 9 about the improvements in Cape Coral Parkway. First of all, I think it's a great idea to bring somebody from the outside to work on that. And I'm excited for what it probably could accomplish, but I wanted to make a couple other things and points for me to get them on your mind. There are 5 speed changes on Cape Coral Parkway currently, which, as an old retired engineer, I know that when you speed up and slow down the traffic that much, that accordion system that we currently have never worked right. And we've got a speed zone down in the west side, and I'm from the southwest side of the city as well. We've got a speed zone down there. It's not unusual to see cars doing 70 miles an hour, and then they come to a screeching slow down when you get to the middle of the city, probably because of traffic, but also because of the speed limits. It's untenable. And I hope that they will consider that as the very first step in aligning these speed limits and making the traffic more laminar, the flow more laminar. I think the other thing I hope you guys are considering, because I'd hate to see those festivals that we have on Cape Coral Parkway, like the Art Festival, go away. Some of that reconstruction of the highway has to include an accommodation for that, and I think some of that accommodation has to be on the side streets that work in parallel with the Cape Coral Parkway. And I'm sure that somebody here in this room is communicating with these people that you're paying $149,000 to do this work, but I wanted to make my feelings known about that. So thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak during citizens' input? Seeing none, citizens' input is now closed. I'll open up for any council discussion. Councilmember Steinke.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Mr. Eldridge, I want to recognize you. And for those that are in attendance and those watching at home, many of our citizens come and they will make their feelings known about an instance, a situation, and they go home. Mr. Eldridge, you've been here week in, week out as I've sat here, and you want to hear everything that's going on in our city, you make your way through the entire meeting so that it's not just something that might be a concern of yours that you want to either share or hear about. It's the entire city. And if there were a model citizen being involved with government, you're absolutely a great display of that. And so thank you for that. Your comments and the way you present them, very respectful. And I just, hats off to you for the citizen that you make yourself very, very present for others to see. So thank you for that. In regard to the signs and whatnot from Milton, and I've talked with a number of citizens about this, it's amazing how memory fades. We were down for a long time after Ian, waste pickup, debris pickup, months we were. So the fact that we're 2 or 3 weeks in, I think we forgot how bad it could be before we got really, really good at it, to think that literally 72 hours after a major hurricane bringing 6 feet of water in our city, our farmers market's open. So certainly done a bunch there, but I am concerned about the signs, and I do know there were some inventories that were being taken. Mr. City Manager, have we not gone out and done the inventory of the signs, the survey and the signs that we need to get taken care of?
Yes, and unlike Ian, where we were going through a FHWA process for reimbursement, the lessons learned from Hurricane Ian have taught us that the amount of damage we have from Milton is not worth seeking recovery, so we are just going out. We're in the process of hiring a contractor to come in and help us out.
Okay, thank you. And as it relates to the 311 comment, I don't know if we have someone here from 311. I don't know if communications is here, but technology does have its glitches here and there. Do we have an issue with 311 that we don't know about, that the typical connection to 311 is not working?
So sometimes after storms, the carriers get things mixed up on their side. So I talked to Mr. Navarro and got his service provider, and we'll be making a phone call to them to double check that everything's right on their side.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you very much. That's it for me, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Long.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on the waste pro and the debris discussion. I think, are we going to have a discussion on that later at some point regarding this? I thought you said that maybe we were going to have.
We can do it now.
I mean, if it's on another part on the agenda, I'd be happy to do it. I just didn't want to miss an opportunity.
I was just going to bring it up during that, but since we have members of the audience here, might as well do it now.
Sure.
All right. Terry Schweitzer, the solid waste manager, and during hurricane recovery, the debris manager. Talk a little bit about debris recovery and collection and waste pro. So we had back-to-back storms a couple of weeks apart, and we had one day suspension after Helene, and then we had an unprecedented 4-day suspension after Milton, which really backed up the waste services. Talking with Lee County and Waste Pro, the decision was made after Milton passed was to focus that first week, put all resources on solid waste, because that's the least unhealthy trash to leave sitting around, right? As we all know, it starts secreting. Well, anyway, so what's that do, right? So Waste Pro has roughly, they run 50 trucks a day. So all 50 trucks are dedicated to solid waste. Well, then the following week, we got to start getting, we have to start getting caught up on everything else. So that's where some of the backlog on some of the recycling, some of the bulk, and horticulture came in. While we set up the debris recovery plan for Milton, we asked all the residents to put as much out, small stuff as they could in compliance so that Waste Pro could pick it up, knowing that the resources that debris contractors had were already tied up north with Hurricane Helene. So with that being said, that was a multifaceted debris recovery plan using Ceres and their subcontractors, using Waste Pro, opening up additional 2 resident debris sites so that residents could take their stuff there, and also opening up our permanent debris site, bulk site, up by the North RO plant for Monday through Saturday, so that there was more available resources to put the trash out and yard waste. So with that being said, a couple of things have come on. Just like after Ian, there is a ramp-up period. The debris hauler series started collecting the week of the 21st with a few minimal resources that they could get down here because everything is already tied up north. And the other municipalities like Lee County, Collier County, they were struggling with the same types of things. So we went through that. We did a little cleanup down at the CRA to begin with that first weekend and collected 256 cubic yards of vegetation there. To date, Ceres and city crews, which are working as well, I forgot to mention them, they're also working. So between the two to date, they've collected just under 2,000 cubic yards of vegetation. Doesn't sound like a lot, but we got to remember with Ian, we had 2.7 million cubic yards between right-of-way and canals, and if my memory serves me, about 1.7 cubic yards was vegetation that we picked up curbside. For Milton, we're estimating the high end 100,000 cubic yards. The low end is under 50,000. So when you start combining all those resources, it'll get picked up quick. It may not seem like it, but we're only 1 week and 3 days into it, the actual collection. 75% of the debris requests coming in right now are horticulture, and as we can probably imagine, they're down in the southwest Cape. And of those, that's where we started our debris collection. Waste Pro, their horticulture tonnage that we've been tracking is 50% higher since Milton that they've been collecting. It's been set out compliant. That doesn't include the non-compliant. So that's another large amount. It's 50% higher than normal. If we, the two drop-off sites that we have, we've seen initially there was about 80 vehicles at the southwest site coming in. It's dropped off today to about 28 vehicles a day. Northwest from 25 vehicles to start to 15 vehicles to start. Ceres has added 3 additional crews this week, so they'll have a total of 8. Waste Pro is also bringing in additional resources now that some of their other areas are recovered. So they're bringing in additional grapple trucks that are going to be helping out Saturday and Sunday, up to 7 trucks to work in areas that we're going to coordinate with Ceres, which will be on the Monday routes so that we can get through those. In addition, they are going to, it was a special request for the Pelican Parkway area for trick-or-treaters. So they're going to blitz that area tomorrow with some grapple trucks to get that cleaned up for the trick-or-treaters. So they are helping out. Debris calls to date, we've had 113. 91 of those are Hort, and again, they come out of the District 2 area, which is basically Southwest Cape. When you compare that to the over 4,200 debris calls that we received during Ian, it's pretty minuscule, although I get it, the phone rings, you got to answer it, and there's people at the other end, they want things done. Waste Pro to date, we've had 806, last month there was 860 total calls for Waste Pro, misses, totes, etc. This month it's 1,375. As an example, in September there was 46 missed Hort calls. So for this month there's been 251 missed Hort calls. So the volume has increased, but when we add all that up, things are getting picked up. We get through Monday and things will really start rolling because I've driven around the city, and I'm sure as anybody else has, there's areas where there's nothing out. So that's really the game plan at this point. Things are moving, although it doesn't look like it. They are happening, and it's going to take another week or two to get more of this up off the ground, and then things will start lessening. And by Thanksgiving, things will definitely be back to normal.
Did you mention anything about Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday and Sunday? Yeah, yes. Waste Pro is going to be bringing in, they're going to devote their resources Saturday and Sunday to help not only pick up if they're behind on anything, but they're also going to pick up storm debris. So they're going to help on that storm debris side as well to help get that cleaned up. And the focus is on the Monday routes first, and then we're going to, move into Tuesday. Our city forces are working on the Friday routes right now.
Okay, Councilmember Long, you still have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Terry. I appreciate it. I think for one reason or another, I've been a little more tough on you guys with regards to this than the others. Although I hope that's not the case. The more the merrier.
Quite all right.
But I had asked you, and again, I identified this pretty early on. I think we all did, as far as being an issue, justifiably so, with all the resources that are being utilized up north for, admittedly, a much more deserving need. And we went through a couple different ideas to try to generate the resources that we felt we needed, and unfortunately, we weren't able to come up with a one-size-fits-all solution. But as always, I appreciate you guys willing to look into these things. One thing that I guess I'll ask is are we concerned that we're not going to be able to get all the debris that's out as far as horticulture is concerned, at least prior to, at the very least, the 90-day reimbursement? Is it 90 days reimbursement window for?
It is a 90-day for 100%. There's no concern at all. I'm not concerned.
The reason I ask that, and it might not be captured in the data that I'm looking at, and that's why I kind of want an explanation here. You provided the figures today for us as far as the debris hauling from, I believe, Ceres, and there might have been Waste Pro as well. But in the Ceres chart in particular, it shows, and this is the cubic yard performance part of your slide, that the cumulative percentage collected of vegetative of our estimate is 2.6 to date, right? And then if you move over, the projected debris remaining after 60 days, we have that at 80.8%. Is my understanding that correctly?
That's based on the total, what we're estimating cumulative yardage. What that chart and graph doesn't include is what Waste Pro's picking up.
That's why I was
yeah, so that skews it. If we convert the tonnage to what Waste Pro's picking up, on top of what their normal horticulture, we'll say that 50% increase, we throw that in there, that's going to be the other storm debris that normally would just be set out there to pick up. I can get that number to council for you.
Okay, yeah, if you could, just so I could,
Yeah.
because this guy promised me before Thanksgiving at the last week's meeting, so. Well,
there's a lot of pressure on Ceres too, because they promise us that as well, so we're on them every day.
Awesome.
Who's eating turkey?
Well, yeah, we'll see. Thank you, I appreciate it, Terry.
Absolutely. I think what we're going to see, I know what we're going to see, when you get down in the southwest, right, and that's the older part of the city where we had what I'll call old growth, right, trees that have been around a while, those giant, beautiful royal palms. So all that stuff's on the ground. But then you get to some areas of the Cape. Literally, I drove around for 10 minutes and didn't see any horticulture, going up and down streets. So it looks slow right now, but I can tell you as I'm standing here that the speed of removal is going to start increasing. I get it. If I'm sitting there waiting for my stuff to get picked up, that kind of sets it back a little bit. But that's where hopefully the patience comes in.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes, I would like to thank the citizen from District 2 for pointing out some good positive things in the city. It's nice to hear that. I also want to encourage people to bring all their concerns to council. But it is nice to hear the positives, the good things that take place. I want you to know that paving project was recognized by me as well. There are other work that was done in the city in the past. I recognized the quality of their work, and I mean literally flawlessness. You go to bed and you wake up and there's a new street and it's finished and the striping's done and there's no mess. But I want you also to know that it's not just the contractor. It's the city manager and his staff that managed that project, that recognized the quality of the service, that put the project together, that supervised it, that make sure it was executed properly. So there's a lot of people involved. And I want everyone to know that this council that sits up here and all the city employees and staff, none of us are perfect. We all strive to do what's best for the city. And when we have shortfalls, I'm sure people will come to the podium and let us know. But what I asked is that you, all citizens and everyone, we all work together to strive to do what's great for the community and work together, because that's how we achieve the goal, by everyone working together. So thank you for the words today. Thank you for all the people that came in. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Councilmember Steinke.
Thank you, Mayor. I apologize. I forgot one thing that I had heard from the third gentleman that came up on it. It sounded like a concern with the work that we are looking, for design work for Cape Coral Parkway. Mr. City Manager, in his concerns, he mentioned a concern that we're not going to affect any of the street festivals that we have on Cape Coral Parkway. And to my knowledge, we've not looked at not having our typical festivals that we have on Cape Coral Parkway, just because of us removing parking on the sides of the roads to allow those, 3 lanes each way. When we have those festivals, we're still going to shut those lanes down and have the festivals on the street. There's no plan to stop those festivals.
That is correct. And then any of the on-street parking that is there for the smaller festivals, part of this analysis is finding the replacement location for those spots.
Okay, thank you very much. Hope that helps.
Yeah, just one comment for me, mainly for Terry. I can tell you, I had stopped along a roadway on Southwest 24th Place where there was a non-compliant sticker, and I actually looked through the pile. I got a picture of it. It wasn't that big, and it was all palm fronds. So I don't know why it was non-compliant, but there was a purple sticker put on that particular pile. I know it was there yesterday still. I don't know today. I wasn't down that way. And I do know, like on my street up in the northwest, there's still no vegetation debris has been picked up along my street. So I know there's some palm frond leaves that are stacked up. They weren't picked up last week. And this morning was our pickup, and they weren't picked up again today. So there's still some miss areas. Hopefully, they'll be picked up more frequently, like you had stated. Now we're getting to a point in time where it'll start killing the grass of the residents. I've seen some people drag the palm fronds out into the median in front of their house, and of course we don't want to encourage that. But we just want to make sure that we stay on Waste Pro, make sure that if it is a compliant pile, that it's being picked up and not a non-compliant sticker put on it. So I know I had sent you an email earlier in the week, but I just wanted to let you know that those two circumstances, along with many others I know in our community, are still there.
Right, and I can let everybody know, I did have conversations with the Waste Pro about that. That was not their policy to tag those. They had we'll call it a rogue driver or two that decided that they'd tag it so that way they wouldn't have to pick it up, I guess is a lack of a better term. So they are aware and they are addressing that with their employees. But if somebody has palm fronds or something that's set out and it is tagged, I'm not going to say ignore the tag, but just be rest assured that we are looking into it and whether it'll get picked up as storm debris or by Waste Pro if it's compliant. So they are aware of it.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And I just want to make sure, for the residents that are watching, make sure you check our webpage, separate your debris. We want to make sure that we have them in separate piles. If they're not, it's just going to take longer to get that debris picked up in front of your house. So that's one of the most important things. Separate the piles, palm fronds. If you have branches, I would recommend having a palm frond pile because that can be picked up from Waste Pro, where if you have branches that aren't bind in 4-foot piles like the code says, the regulation says, then that'll be picked up by a debris contractor. So just keep that in mind as well. But we'll get through as quick as we can and try to get the debris picked up. Go ahead.
There was something brought up that wasn't answered. The city is doing a traffic study as well throughout the city on looking at possible changes around the city, and the city engineers are all working on timing of traffic lights to better move the traffic. So the things that were brought up, engineers right now are working on them things. It's a lot more than just adding the lanes. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other comments, we'll move on to item 9 is business. 9A is the consent agenda. I'll open up for council to pull any consent agenda items. Councilmember Steinke.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to pull item number 7.
Number 7, all right. Any other items to be pulled? If no other items are to be pulled, then I will entertain a motion to approve the remaining items. And item 7, for the record, is Resolution 335-24.
Motion to approve the remainder.
Second.
Any discussion from council? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Carr.
Aye.
Cosden.
Aye.
Gunter.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Long.
Aye.
Shepherd.
Aye.
Steinke.
Aye.
7 ayes, motion carried.
Okay, Resolution 335-24 was pulled by Councilmember Steinke. I'll give you the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question as I reviewed the 3 bids that we had and awarding the bid. Obviously, we are awarding it to the lowest bidder. I was a little surprised in the overall cost, and if I could just get some comment, maybe either from Public Works or City Manager, somehow from staff. What it looks like to me is I looked at the linear feet of curb and gutter. While of course you got the curbs on either end, they'll take up some of it, but the linear feet there, as best as I can tell, ends up being about 0.9 miles, I believe, and at its given award amount, that ends up being about just over $850,000 a mile. That just seems high to me. So the 2 questions that I have is in previous awards, when we see an increase, where's that increase coming from? Number 1, and number 2 would be when they're making these bids, do we break it down in all the different items, or is it just the overall cost? And do we ever ask any questions from one bid to the other why one material cost or one piece of the job is so much more or so much less in that procurement process? So it's kind of a two stages. Has it really gone up as much as it seems like to me? And what has caused that to go up as high as it has, and is it one particular component part or not?
Thank you. Brian Vanderwalker, Interim Transportation Manager. So I just want to follow along with you where you're seeing the 29 miles of curbing on the bid tab.
0.9 is what I said.
Oh, okay.
It says 9,500. I don't have it. I can get it up here, but it's 9,500 and some odd feet, linear feet, and it's price per linear foot. When you multiply that out, right? So with 5,280 feet being a mile, if I divide that, while I didn't make adjustments for the curves on either end of the median, if you will, it sounds like about 0.9 miles. And so if you take the $700,000+ of the award, the contract that we'll sign, and you divide that by 0.9 miles, it ends up being $853,000 a mile.
So, excuse me. So through the research that the department has completed recently, with extensive discussions about median curbing and beautification and all of this, that is right in line with the costs that we've been finding to do other projects as well. We've had a few projects, and I think as we were discussing a separate project for median curbing, we were looking at an average of around 1 million plus per mile. So that is not a dramatic increase. That is in line with the numbers that we have been finding through other projects as well as FDOT projects. So.
Okay, and so as it relates to the budget, this is an amount that we had already considered in our budget for these improvements?
As it pertains to the budget, I'd have to look into it a little bit more to get you an exact answer. I know that we were able to allocate the correct funds to it. When we originally budgeted this project, I have not seen that original amount budget, but I'd have to look back onto that and get back with you there.
If the basis of the question is, was access management considered in this, when the funds were allocated for median improvements? Yes. Ever since the Rose Garden Boulevard and Chiquita, any new landscaping that goes in any median in the city now has this added expense as part of it. There were many, many months of discussion back and forth between CTAC and staff. The attorney's office got involved, consultants got involved to try to find a way around it. And at the end of the day, due to the width of our medians and the clear zone requirements, curbing is required due to the Florida Green Book for roadway design standards. Now, there's been other questions related to, do we need to be as intense with the landscaping that's put in once the curbing is done? And I do know that that discussion has come up several times at CTAC, because right now the current templates that the city staff have to use require medium or intense landscaping, and those templates are in place with the pallets that we have to use. So until that policy is changed, we're going to be following those unless there's additional guidance from council or CTAC to make a change to that template.
Okay, and I certainly do remember that requirement for the curbing and whatnot, and one of the things that I thought of is that, you know, we have a curbing machine, and we've looked at putting it into use, and so the 338, or it's somewhere around there, $300,000+ of the amount that's the actual curbing itself. Is it cheaper for us to have a contractor do that, or is it better for us to put our curbing machine to use to do the curbing ourselves with our own personnel rather than contract it out?
Curbing is expensive, and that was the cost-benefit analysis that went into justifying the acquisition of the curbing machine. The issue that we have with the manner in which median landscaping funds are applied is it's asystematic. So council or CTAC picks, we want this median improved, and money's thrown at a particular median for that to be improved. Well, that fast tracks, we have to get an engineering firm out there to do access management, and then we have to fast track access management installation so that the landscaping can be improved. The total process still takes about 2 to 3 years, depending on how long it is. And where we're using the city's curbing machine is basically on our own programming based on where we see issues with illegal median crossings occurring, median parking occurring at night. Doesn't require design. There's no capital funding sitting out there that we could lose, or an expectation of a median being advanced. So that's kind of like us and our sidewalk crew. We're out doing sidewalks, but we don't need a design. There's no contract. We're not in the risk of losing grant funds or some other external funds. That's the same way we're applying the use of the city's curbing machine. Where we have a specific designated or targeted median to be improved, or we've gotten grants, then we need the expert help to help us get there on the time frame that we need to be successful. I've said in other meetings that to CTAC, I think we need to revisit the way that we look at how we pick our medians. In the past, it used to be that CTAC would pick a specific road, and then it went through a 5-year process. 1 year was median access management design. The next year was access management installation. The third year was median landscaping installation. The fourth year was sidewalks on either side. And the fifth year was street lights. And so within a 5-year period of that road being designated, that whole segment was complete street. What we have now is several different programs all going shotgun. Street lights happening in this area, sidewalks happening in this area, access management in this area, and median landscape. There's no synergy. And so we're shotgun all over trying to use contractors. I think there's an opportunity for us to bring some efficiencies, but it would take us all agreeing to a new way of thinking on how we approach improving our streets in the community.
Thank you very much for that. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, when I look at, I'm sorry, Councilmember Shepherd, go ahead.
Yeah, I just had one quick question. How many bids did we get, and is it difficult to get contractors to bid this type of work? Is it a plentiful, do a lot of companies bid this? Are there a lot of companies to bid it, or do we have a hard, difficult time? And how many did bid on it? That's all. That was my quick question.
There were 3 bids. The low bid was $768. The high bid was $1.2. The difference between the low bid and the next bid was only $100,000. So there's competition, and the tightness at the bottom end is a signal that that's generally where the market is.
Okay, thank you.
We do, if I could add to that, the second part of your question was, is it difficult to get companies to bid on that? It depends on the size of the contract. We do have a couple of meetings that we've been putting out, that we have put out and have received no responses on separate projects that we're looking down the road to accomplish. So that is part of it, but that is also where the curbing machine comes into play, and we're able to make up those things because those are smaller projects. City crews can take care of them.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, I was looking at the bids while you were talking, Councilmember Steinke, and like City Manager said, 768, 861, and 1.2 million. When I look at the bid, the 9,569 linear feet of curbing at $39, that was the low bidder, $39 a foot. That's $373,191. About 49% of the bid is for curbing. And when you look at Rose Garden and Chiquita, what we paid for those 2 particular roadways with no curbing, I actually thought the 768 was fairly good, considering we had the 9,500 linear feet of curbing in the bid. So I thought, because we always, they keep telling us, $1 million a mile. This was, I knew, fairly close to a mile. And it came in at 768, and we added curbing. So I thought that was a pretty good bid. And also to answer your question, this budget item was in FY23's budget. It's taken that long to get to where we are here today. But if I recall correctly, we allocated the funding in FY23 for this project.
To clarify, this contract does not include the landscaping. The landscaping follows this. So this includes base landscaping of sod and fill dirt and curbing. So
the actual landscaping, so when it says median improvements, I guess that's just a general, just kind of generalized.
It is generalized. The median beautification landscaping portion of this will follow as soon as construction is completed.
We'll be back up to that $1 million a mile.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you. And I appreciate the answer. And since I pulled it and brought it up, I'd like to, based on the answers that I've heard, I'd like to make a motion to approve item number 7, resolution 335-24.
Second.
Any council discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Carr?
Aye.
Austin?
Aye.
Gunter?
Aye.
Hayden?
Aye.
Long?
Aye.
Shepherd?
Aye.
Steinke?
Aye.
7 ayes, motion carried.
Okay, move on to item 9Bs, is appointments to boards and committees. First of which is B1, which is the Municipal Firefighters Employees Pension Trust Fund Board of Trustees. We have one vacancy on that particular board, and we have one applicant, is my understanding, Madam City Clerk?
That is correct. Richard Chappelle.
Yep.
He is currently in the audience if council had any questions for you.
So I'll either give council the opportunity, if we have any questions, please let me know. If not, I'll entertain a motion since we have one vacancy and one applicant.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chappelle.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Carr.
Aye.
Cosden. Aye. Gunter.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Long. Shepherd.
Aye.
Steinke.
Aye.
7 ayes, motion carried.
Okay, the second item, B2, is Municipal Police Union Pension Trust Fund Board of Trustees. We have one vacancy. We have actually two applicants on this particular topic. I believe one of the gentlemen is seeking re-election, and then we have another individual that has applied. Madam City Clerk, since we have two applicants, why don't we give, if the applicants are here, give them 1 minute? Is that okay? That's what we've done in the past. We'll give each applicant 1 minute to make any comments he or she wishes to.
Wesley Cochran.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, City Council. I am retired from the NYPD, and I've been a full-time resident in Cape Coral since 2021. Before becoming a police officer, I had the unique opportunity to sit on the other side of the table as management and negotiating a Teamster contract in a business I was running in New York. I understand that the importance of having a solid and good pension for our police officers to retain and attract quality police officers is important. Other than that, I don't have anything else for you. Do you have any questions?
Any questions? I just have one quick question myself. Have you, and it didn't sound like you did, have you sat on any other pension trust fund boards before?
No, sir.
Okay. All right.
I currently sit on the audit committee for Cape Coral.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Your Honor, if I can add, for Mr. Cochran, he would require a 2/3 affirmative vote because of the audit committee membership. And then the next applicant is David Toomey. Mr. Toomey was unable to attend. He did indicate that he is very eager to continue serving, and this would be a reappointment if selected.
Okay, so he's already in that spot and he's seeking reappointment.
Correct.
Okay. And if we, any votes for Mr. Cochran would need 2/3 vote by council,
Yes.
since he's on another board.
Yes, sir.
Okay. With that, I'll open up for any motion.
You want to just go down the line like we usually do and give a name?
Okay, we can do that. Councilmember Cosden, we'll start with you.
Cochran?
Councilmember Steinke?
I would reappoint David Turney.
Councilmember Shepherd?
Reappoint.
Reappoint.
David.
Toomey.
Cochran.
Turney.
So I believe that is 2 for Cochran and 5 for Toomey.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to reflect that.
Motion from Mr. Turney.
Second.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Carr.
Aye.
Cosden.
Aye.
Gunter.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Long.
Aye.
Shepherd.
Aye.
Steinke.
Aye.
7 ayes, motion carried.
Okay, move on to item 9C is unfinished business, follow-up for items for council. I don't see anything listed. Does council have any follow-up items? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 9D, new business, none listed. Personnel actions, none listed. Petitions to council, none listed. 9G is follow-up items for city management. G1 is FEMA NFIP update. Good evening, Mr. Lamb.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Ryan Lamb, Emergency Management Resilience Director. Right now, our next due date for FEMA is November 18th. I have the draft documents here with me that we're finishing our tech edit and read through. We've met with FEMA several times to walk through them, so I feel comfortable with them. So our plan is to get them turned in probably 2 weeks early. Early next week, we'll be getting them submitted to them and moving forward in that process. And other note in this area, yesterday, myself and our floodplain manager, Mrs. Sofia Saez, were able to travel to Hernando County and be able to present to that community on a lot of our lessons learned and the things that they should be doing as a community right now to protect their flood insurance rating. We were joined with members of FEMA and Florida Department of Emergency Management in that presentation. So that was grateful. We heard a lot of positive feedback from the community and from FEMA and FDIM, and we're going to be looking to help other communities so that they don't enter into this risk as well. And again, I also feel comfortable that we're going to be able to retain our discount here and meet the deadlines and the requirements that FEMA set forward.
Thank you. One additional thing I wanted to mention, Mr. Lamb, is I know the city manager's office reached out to me regarding possibly doing a webinar through the Florida League of Cities. I did speak with representatives there today. I gave them Ms. Bice contact information. They're going to follow up with her and you on that. It sounded like they were interested, and I told them I think that we could benefit other communities, at least to express lessons learned and best practices from Hurricane Ian. I think we've come a long way compared to where we were 2 years ago, and I know we've learned a lot, so hopefully we, like you have done already, be able to give that information to other cities to help them during these types of events. So just wanted to let you know.
Yeah, we've talked with about 8 to 10 communities that have a lot of questions, and so we're helping them as much as we can. My fear is that somebody's going to miss that information and find themselves in some issues later.
Yep, sounded pretty positive today when I spoke with them, so we'll see if we can make that happen.
Thanks, sir.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, let's move on to item 10, ordinances and resolution. 10A is public hearings, quasi-judicial hearings. The first quasi-judicial hearing is Resolution 330-24. Madam City Clerk, please read title.
Resolution 330-24, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cape Coral, Florida, providing for the vacation of plat for a portion of the Dolphin Canal right-of-way and underlying easements adjacent to lots 21 and 22, Block 14, Cape Coral, Unit 1, Part 2. Providing for the vacation of plat for platted easements associated with lots 21 and 22, Block 14, Cape Coral, Unit 1, Part 2, property located at 921 Dolphin Drive, providing for an effective date.
This is a quasi-judicial hearing, but before we get to that, Mr. City Attorney?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Because this is a quasi-judicial proceeding, as our code requires, if there are any ex parte communications that occurred regarding the specific resolution 330-24, they're to be disclosed at this point in time.
Thank you. Any council members have any items to disclose? Seeing none, this is a quasi-judicial hearing. Anyone wishing to speak or provide testimony must be sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Struve.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. For the record, Mike Struve, Planning Team Coordinator with the Planning Division. My credentials are on file with the City Clerk's office. This is a privately initiated vacation request. The owners are Pedro and Angela Marcucci, and the owners are requesting to vacate a little over 2,800 square feet of unexcavated canal right-of-way adjacent to lots 21 and 22, and 480 square feet of platted easements on their property, in this case lots 21 and 22. This particular property is located at 921 Dolphin Drive. This slide shows an aerial map with the subject property outlined in red. You'll notice that this is a site that is located within an area of the city that is largely built out with single-family homes and is located a relatively short distance west of the yacht club. Zoning map shows that the subject property has a zoning designation of single-family residential, as do all sites within 500 feet of this property. Site itself is a little over 9,200 square feet. Site abuts the Dolphin Canal, which has a platted width of 200 feet, and the owner is requesting this vacation to enlarge or to expand their site northward to the existing seawall. These next couple of slides will show the easements that are requested to be vacated, as well as a replacement easement. This is the area, the unexcavated canal right-of-way that exists between the north property line and the seawall. The applicant's requesting to vacate. They're requesting to vacate a portion of the platted easements along the rear property line, and then the city would be retaining easements shown here in blue to maintain a continuous perimeter easement around the site. We've analyzed this request consistent with Section 3.4.5B in our Land Development Code that pertain to vacations. This request meets all requirements of that particular subsection. The request here, in terms of right-of-way, is only a request to vacate unexcavated canal right-of-way. Their area is relatively narrow. It's isolated for the most part from other similar right-of-way, and staff, in looking at this request, determines that the right-of-way has very little value to the public. The easements are requested to be vacated or not needed. The city will retain easements for providing a continuous perimeter easement. The utility providers have reviewed this request. CenturyLink wanted a condition added that if they had facilities that were found within any of the easement areas proposed to be vacated, that those easements would be relocated at the owner's expense, and that condition does appear in the resolution before you. Staff recommends approval of this request with conditions. The hearing examiner, following a public hearing, also recommended approval. And subsequent to the hearing examiner hearing, we have heard from two individuals just wanting more information about the case. I'll stand by in case you have questions.
Thank you. I didn't see the applicant here, so I'll move on. I'll now open up public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on Resolution 330-24, please come forward. Seeing none, public hearing's now closed. Is there a motion regarding Resolution 330-24?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any council discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Carr?
Aye.
Costin?
Aye.
Gunter?
Aye.
Hayden?
Aye.
Long?
Aye.
Shepherd? Steinke?
Aye.
6 ayes, motion carried.
Okay, move on to Ordinance 73-24. Madam City Clerk, please read the title.
Ordinance 73-24. An ordinance of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cape Coral, Florida, that amends the City of Cape Coral, Florida official zoning district map of all property within the limits of the City of Cape Coral by rezoning property described as lots 51 through 78, Block 2005, Unit 35, Cape Coral subdivision, from single-family residential to commercial corridor zone. Property is located at 503 through 659 Northeast 7th Place, providing for severability and an effective date.
Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. This is another quasi-judicial proceeding as required pursuant to our city code. Ex parte communications that have occurred with any council member would need to be disclosed at this time.
Any disclosure?
None.
Okay. Seeing none, this is a quasi-judicial hearing. Anyone wishing to provide testimony must be sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Back to you, Mr. Struve.
Good evening again, Mayor, Council members. For the record, Mike Struve with the Planning Division. This case is a city-initiated rezoning request. It involves multiple properties, 10 properties in particular. The city is requesting to rezone 3.26 acres from the single-family residential to the commercial corridor zoning district. All 10 properties have frontage along a local street, Northeast 7th Place. This is an aerial map showing the subject properties that are highlighted here in red. These properties are located a relatively short distance north of Pine Island Road, which is near the bottom of the screen, and located within, or are located on the western portion of a block that has frontage along Andalusia Boulevard. It's a future land use map showing that the 10 sites subject to this application have a Pine Island Road District future land use classification. They currently have R1 zoning. The proposal before you this evening is to rezone these 10 sites to the Commercial Corridor District. All sites have frontage on Northeast 7th Place. Of these 10 sites, 7 are vacant, 3 are improved with single-family homes. Surrounding uses are somewhat varied and contain or include single-family homes to the north and to the west, and then a smattering of commercial development located to the east and to the south of these sites. The Commercial Corridor District does allow a wide variety of commercial uses that range from restaurant, retail, office, service-related uses. The Commercial Corridor District also allows multifamily residential uses. However, new units are currently prohibited due to the residential cap established for the Pine Island Road District future land use classification. We've analyzed this request consistent with Section 3.4.6 in the Land Development Code. The small area of these sites, all of these sites are either 2 or 3 lot platted sites, so they're relatively small. Smaller the sites will, to some extent, limit the scale of future development. Land Development Code provisions that include landscaping, architectural and lighting standards, along with right-of-way separation, will help promote compatibility with the surrounding area, particularly for those residential homes located to the west. This rezone will protect over 3 acres of commercial development. The rezone will also provide for uniform zoning throughout the block and bring the new zoning district into consistency with the current future land use classification. Centralized utilities are available, so these sites are also suitable for commercial development from that aspect as well. Staff is recommending approval of this rezoning request. The hearing examiner recommended approval following a public hearing on August 20th. There were no speakers at public input. We had received, previous to the hearing examiner hearing, 1 phone call opposed to the rezoning, and I'll stand by in case you have questions.
Thank you. Appears that the applicant, we're the applicant in this particular case.
Correct.
Wouldn't apply, but I'll now open up public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on ordinance 73-24, please come forward. Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. And I will open the floor up for a motion regarding ordinance 73-24.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Councilmember Long.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Struve, you noted that there was just 1 phone call in opposition. Do you recall the nature of the opposition? Or?
It was from a home builder that had bought a property in the rezone area, I believe at a tax deed sale, with a grouping of other properties, and they had an expectation that they could build a single-family home on the site.
Understood, thank you. And then I understand, and I appreciate your note regarding the change in zoning and then the preclusion, I guess, of the availability of multifamily due to the PERD limitations. However, because we're changing it to commercial, would they then theoretically be also able to utilize, I believe, what is it, 120 with regards to the allowance of low-income housing with regards to multifamily?
So they could develop under the Live Local Act.
Is it 120? 102. I had the numbers right.
But
just theoretical. I was just curious.
Theoretically, but if you look at these, if you were looking just at these 10 sites in isolation of the entire block. Just given the depth and so on, it's unlikely that someone could develop, in my view, a viable mixed-use project, because we do require live local acts to be developed as mixed-use
Right.
projects.
Thankfully. Thank you, Mr. Trivy.
Councilmember Carr?
Just one question with regard to the opposition phone call and the developer or the builder. With the future land use of Pine Island District, would he even be able to build a single-family home within that future land use?
No, he would not.
So he couldn't, regardless of this change, he wouldn't be able to develop that as a single family?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that was basically my question. The three improved parcels, just because of the future land use, they're non-conforming already.
Correct.
So that wouldn't make these particular parcels non-conforming, because they were already non-conforming based on the future land use. That was my only question. All right, any other comments? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Carr?
Aye.
Cosden?
Aye.
Venter?
Aye.
Hayden?
Aye.
Long?
Aye.
Steinke?
Aye.
6 ayes, motion carried.
Okay, thank you. Move on to item 10B, which is legislative public hearings. We have first of which is ordinance 2424. Madam City Clerk, please read the title.
Ordinance 24-24, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Cape Coral, Florida, approving and granting to Lee County Electric Cooperative, Inc., a perpetual easement for a right-of-way to be used for the construction, operation, and maintenance of one or more underground electric distribution lines across property owned by the city that is located at 2500 Gleason Parkway, as more particularly described herein. Authorizing and directing the mayor to execute the easement. A copy of the easement is attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference, providing for severability and an effective date.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to staff to start with.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Dave Heidi, Public Works Capital Improvements. This ordinance provides a perpetual easement to LCEC for installation, operation, maintenance of a service line on the subject property. And this happens to be the property for the fire training facility down by the water plant. We've already installed conduits to get the power through, and this is just a formal granting of the easement for LCEC, if you have any questions.
Thank you. I now open up public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on ordinance 2424, please come forward. Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion regarding ordinance 2424?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any council discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Aye.
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 Okay, move on to ordinance 69-24. Madam City Clerk, please read the title.
Ordinance 69-24, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Cape Coral, Florida, amending the city of Cape Coral, Florida comprehensive plan by amending the future land use map from multifamily residential to commercial/professional land use for property described as lots 49, 50, 51, and 52, block 3661, Cape Coral, unit 49. Property located at 1466 and 1470 Southwest 5th Street, providing for severability and an effective date.
Okay, thanks. I'll turn it over to staff. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. For the record, Anthony Santor, Cape Coral City Planning. Here today to talk about Ordinance 69-24. This is a privately initiated future land use map amendment. The applicant being Hungry Catfish LLC, being represented by Avalon Engineering Incorporated, for 2 properties along Southwest 5th Street, approximately 0.47 acres in the urban services transition. They are seeking to amend the future land use map from multifamily to commercial professional. So a little bit of background information. Specified, the sites are along a local roadway that is paved, designated as Southwest 5th Street. They are currently vacant and undeveloped. They do have access to all utilities, including water and sewer. They are adjacent to the west, properties that are owned currently by the applicant. A little bit of zoning history on it. These were originally zoned R-1B, converted to RML in 2019. That coincides with the future land use, which was converted to multifamily in 2017. The applicant has stated in their LOI that the parcels will be combined with their adjacent parcels, which are already designated commercial to the west, and that will be the site of future commercial development. So here we can see the aerial of the two sites located along Southwest 5th Street. These are the 3 parcels that are currently owned by the applicant. And a map of the current future land use classification illustrating the multifamily nature of them now, and the proposed commercial professional designation that they are seeking to move to. And this is the current zoning. A subsequent rezoning request will be necessary to convert this to a full commercial parcel. So as part of the code requirements, we did examine LDC section 3.5.2.c, and we began by looking at the criteria 1 through 7, specifically starting with criteria 1, which has to do with the applicability of our city comprehensive plan. We will examine it in a little bit of detail further on, but staff did find that the proposed amendment is consistent with the goals and policies of the city comprehensive plan. We also examined criteria number 2, whether the amendment protects the health, safety, and welfare of the community. Staff did find this to be consistent with that criteria as well. We then went on to examine criteria number 3, whether the proposed amendment and all consistent zoning districts and underlying permitted uses are compatible with the physical environmental features of the site. Staff did find that this amendment is consistent with that criteria, and then went on to criteria number 4, whether the range of zoning districts and all of the allowed uses in those districts are compatible with surrounding uses in terms of land suitability or density, and that a change will not result in negative impacts on the community of traffic that cannot be mitigated through application of the development standards in the code. Staff found that the application was consistent with this criteria as well. We then went on to criteria number 5, whether the site is capable of accommodating all of the allowed uses, whether by right or otherwise, and found that the proposed amendment is consistent with this criteria. And then criteria number 6, other factors that are deemed appropriate by the commission and city council. That is not our prerogative. That is open for council decision. So in moving on to the comprehensive plan, we examined chapter 4, policy 1.13 and 1.14, our commercial siting guidelines, and found that these sites are consistent with 4 components of the guidelines and inconsistent with 4 components of the guidelines. And that is if we were to examine these sites together. However, when we did review them as part of the larger commercial development that could occur, so that being the 5 parcels instead of just these 2, we found that the proposed amendment would be consistent with 7 components and inconsistent with 1. It is a good candidate for future commercial development, and there is no number of criteria that is necessary for it to be determined a good site. We then examined policy 1.15 and found that it was consistent with this policy as well. And objective 2 of the city's comprehensive plan, finding that the proposed amendment was consistent as well. We then went on to chapter 4, policy 2.1, finding that the proposed amendment is consistent. And we also did a little bit of a city impact analysis. You can see on the left the proposed commercial professional designation and the existing multifamily. What you see is that there is a reduction in the amount of dwellings, as commercial professional does not allow any residential units. However, there is an increase of infrastructure taxing and vehicular trips. This does assume a 1 FAR development. We do see FAR developments more akin to 0.25% of total development. So these propose a worst case scenario. Police and fire also did an analysis of this site, and fire found that the future development is expected to generate less than 15 calls annually with minor impact and no negative effects on service delivery. Likewise for the police as well. The development is expected to generate less than 1% increase to recorded calls and 1% citywide. They are expecting to have minor impact to police services and a slight impact to traffic on Chiquita. So city planning is recommending approval of the future land use map amendment. The Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval at their public hearing. Prior to the submission of the material, staff had not received any correspondence. However, prior to this hearing, staff did receive 1 informative phone call. With that, I will stand by for any questions.
Okay, thank you. I'll now open up public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on Ordinance 69-24, please come forward.
Good evening, Linda Miller, Vice President of Avalon Engineering. I'm representing the property owners Hungry Catfish Farms, LLC, on this two-parcel future land use map amendment. As Anthony said, he did a great presentation here. We are interested in combining the lots from the corner of Chiquita Boulevard to our site. And just want to go a little bit further into the existing land uses along this property. Along the southern part of the lake, you have Pine Island Road District. Along the western side of the lake, you have Commercial Professional on Chiquita Boulevard. So this would just be an extension of the Commercial Professional off of Chiquita. Planning and Zoning Board approved the project. The city staff is recommending approval. I ask for your approval tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak during the public hearing, please come forward. Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion regarding ordinance 69-24?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there any council discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Carr.
Aye.
Cosden.
Aye.
Venter.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Long.
Aye.
Shepherd.
Aye.
Steinke.
Aye.
7 ayes, motion carried.
Okay, move on to ordinance 75-24. Madam City Clerk, please read the title.
Ordinance 75-24, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Cape Coral, Florida, amending the city of Cape Coral, Florida Code of Ordinances, Chapter 8, Fire Prevention and Emergency Management, Article 4, Emergency Management, Section 8-31, Removal of Debris, by creating an emergency and disaster-generated debris removal program, authorizing the city to enter private, unimproved property to remove such debris, providing severability and an effective date.
Okay, I'll turn it over to Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is just the debris management policy to help us collect private property, unimproved right-of-ways. So part of the debris management plan requires us to have pre-authorization and approvals. This sets forth the policy on how we move forward with the debris on those parcels and roadways.
Okay, so it's basically HOAs and private communities and private roadways, is that what you're talking about?
No, it says unimproved.
Or unimproved?
It's unimproved properties.
Unimproved, okay.
So this would grant us the ability to access the unimproved property in order to remove the debris, and this just codifies our authority to do so.
Okay.
So after Ian, we had some situations where we had to go pick up debris on unimproved property, and people were wondering where we had the ability.
Okay.
We pointed in several different areas to try and assert that we had the authorization to do that. This just adds clarity to that whole process.
Okay. I'll open up public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on ordinance 75-24, please come forward. Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Open up for council discussion. Councilmember Long.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, real quick while we're here, talking about Ian, there were certain instances where we did, I would assume, go on vacant properties with regards to debris management or debris removal in the waterways. And as part of that effort, in some instances, we would also, to a certain extent, remove vegetation on the shoreline to access. Would this grant us the authority to do that by right, or would we still have to seek some sort of authority to, in a way, alter the land, vacant or otherwise?
I'll let legal do that. If you remember during Ian, what we were trying to do was use the easements to get to the back and then the back 6 foot, but there was...
I know it's problematic, so I'm just curious whether this addresses that or whether we can't address that, or...
So this will grant us the ability to do so as long as we comply with the notification requirement that we're going to be accessing that property to remove that debris. So now we've codified our authority to do so.
Okay, just so I'm clear, we're not necessarily removing debris in my scenario on the site itself. We would be utilizing the site to remove debris in the waterway and thereby potentially removing rooted trees and otherwise on the shoreline in order to improve our access.
Right, we had We had sections in some of our hazard and nuisance where it basically said that we had to publish a notice that we were going to enter upon the property. We kind of went through that section of the code. This one creates a specific disaster debris one, simulates that same process to clean it up.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other council discussion, I'll open up for a motion regarding ordinance 75-24.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Carr?
Aye.
Constant? Aye. Gunter?
Aye.
Hayden?
Aye.
Long?
Aye.
Shepherd?
Aye.
Steinke?
Aye.
7 ayes, motion carried.
Okay, move on to ordinance 77-24. Madam City Clerk, please read title.
Ordinance 77-24, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Cape Coral, Florida, amending ordinance 54-24, which amended ordinance 22-24, which amended ordinance 1-24, which amended ordinance 70-23, which adopted the city of Cape Coral, Florida operating budget, revenues and expenditures, and capital budget for fiscal year 2024. By increasing the total revenues and expenditures by a total of $104,202,211, providing for severability and an effective date.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to staff. Good evening.
Good evening. If I can get the PowerPoint up. Just- All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. For the record, my name is Crystal Feast, Acting Financial Services Director. The item before you is the fourth and final budget amendment for fiscal year 2024. The ordinance was first introduced October 16th, and it's before you and the public tonight for hearing and final approval. And yeah, I'm trying to find it. There it is. All right. All right. Florida statute allows the adopted budget to be amended anytime during the fiscal year or within 60 days after a fiscal year end. So the budget amendment tonight is the fourth and final amendment for fiscal year 24, and it will amend ordinance 5424. And finally, the ordinance will recognize any city council action previously taken during the last quarter that wasn't already included in the budget, as well as any personnel services, operating, and capital adjustments needed to close out the fiscal year. So this summary basically displays the evolution of the adopted budget by ordinance. With budget amendment number 4, we're proposing an increase of $104,202,211 to get us to a final fiscal year 24 budget of $1,353,574,751. And you'll see that the majority of this increase we're proposing is in capital projects and primarily consists of the Bimini East purchase and the appropriation of funds for park improvement projects, which you'll see in later slides. So in summary, what this budget amendment will do is effectively increase the overall budget by 8.34%. And of that increase, 57% of it comes from previously approved city council items during the last quarter, and the other 43% will be from other adjustments for personnel services and operating items to close out the fiscal year. And so now we'll go over some details of that. Here we have details of the previously approved items by city council, and I'll point out the larger items as a reference. You'll see the first item, grant awards for CDBG DR, totaling $4.1 million. We're increasing to cover the cost of design and construction for Yacht Club Community Center, totaling $7.5 million. And then further down the list, you'll see $40.3 million for the 43 parcels purchased at Bimini East. The next category of details I'll provide are for those other adjustments to close out fiscal year end. Items to note, the first item will transfer reserve funding to cover the remaining GEO bond projects. And then further down the list, we will transfer funds to cover property management services, totaling $2.3 million. Continuing with other adjustments, the item to note on this list, you'll see $1.4 million has been included to cover year-end lot mowing expenditures. And then moving on, continuing with other adjustments, the large items to note here are the transfer of funds to to cover the remaining Sparkle projects and Go bond projects totaling $6.8 million and $9.7 million. And then on the final slide, the large item to note is $3 million from other funds into our internal service funds to cover property management costs. And with that, I'll take any questions and then request that you approve Ordinance 77-24.
Thank you. Now, a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on Ordinance 77-24, please come forward. Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion regarding Ordinance 77-24?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there any council discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Carr?
Aye.
Costa? Aye. Gunter?
Aye.
Hayden?
Aye.
Long?
Aye.
Shepherd? Steinke?
Aye.
7 ayes, motion carried.
Okay, let's move on to 10C is introductions, first of which is Ordinance 56-24. Madam City Clerk, please read title, set the public hearing date.
Ordinance 56-24, an ordinance of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cape Coral, Florida, amending Article 5, Development Standards, Chapter 4, Marine Improvements, Section 5.4.7, Boat Canopies and Sun Shelters of the Land Development Code of the City of Cape Coral, Florida, regarding boat canopies, providing for severability and an effective date. The public hearing will be December 4th, 2024.
Any discussion by staff or council? Councilmember Steinke?
Thank you, Mayor. This is an ordinance that we've been working on now, at least that I've been working on now for a better part of a year. It has to do with resilience for our marine improvements and for protecting the boats that would be contained in those as people are recovering from Ian still, and now the last three, Debbie, Helene, and Milton. They're having to make these improvements to their and repairs to their docks and their lifts and their canopies. I would like to not kick this can down the road all the way down to December just because of timing of meetings and whatnot. We will be together again on November 13th for a CRA meeting, which would have all of us here. I would like to call for a special meeting on that day on November 13th rather than wait until December. And that special meeting would be held at 9:30 or immediately after our CRA meeting, whichever would come first. And I'd seek support from 3 other council members that would allow us to do that.
You got mine.
I will tell you that I know staff had asked me about a special meeting. At that time, I didn't see a need in the special meeting. I know the city manager is going to talk about a committee of the whole meeting for December 4th. And then I know this was on the schedule for December 4th as well. And I was going to add this discussion to the committee of the whole for the December 4th. For me, like you said, we've been talking about this for a year now. So I didn't think another 30 days would really matter. So that's why I figured that we would wait for the December 4th meeting. It would also give the opportunity for the new council members to weigh in. on this particular topic as well. So that's where I was at. Councilmember Long?
Yeah, I agree, Mayor. It's not that I don't support it. I think we get a consensus in the Cal. I just don't think that there's a need to rush it, certainly with any particular appearances that might result as a result of us trying to squeeze it in before the new election, although, of course, that's not the intent. But yeah, it's been this long. I don't think there's going to be any issues pushing it through, regardless of who sits up here in the next month or two. So I have no issues waiting on it.
Councilmember Hayden?
Well, the only issue is going to be bringing a new council up to speed and all the research that's going to be required by them after we've been discussing it for as long as we have. That's why I thought it made sense just to deal with this one issue after the CRA meeting on the 13th. So the current council that has the most knowledge and most information about this particular ordinance could take that vote rather than possibly changing the dynamics of something that's been worked on for so long, involving a lot of people, and bringing new faces and new opinions into something without the proper research that they may or may have not have done just because they haven't been involved with it for no other reason, might present some more challenges and further extend this from getting done. Thanks, Mayor.
Councilmember Carr?
Yeah, I would also support getting it done. It's non-controversial. I think we're all up to speed on the modifications that have been made and the effort that's been put into it. So I would be not opposed to having a special meeting.
Okay. Councilmember Cosden?
Yeah, just real quick, I'm okay doing it that day, having the meeting, and it's the 13th, right? It does.
November 13th.
Yeah, since we've been talking about it for so long, I could see why it would make sense for us to make that decision.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to have a special meeting on November 13th in these chambers at 9:30 or later, depending on when CRA gets over with, to discuss this particular ordinance.
For the second
Make the
reading.
vote. Well, I
Second
said
public
after
reading.
for the second meeting, yes.
Just real quick question for me. You made a motion, did I hear a second?
Second.
Second. Reconsideration hearings, if you're on the prevailing side, you could ask for a reconsideration hearing? Yes. Okay, thank you. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the Madam City Clerk.
Mayor and Council, I just wanted to reset the public hearing for Ordinance 56-24 to November 13th, 2024, where I had it earlier
okay.
stated December 4th.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. So move on to item 11, reports. First of which is Councilmember Shepherd.
I'd just like to say I was at the event that we had for the children of the city, the trunk or treats. I think it was an awesome event. I think we're outgrowing having the event here. It was very successful, very appreciative of the citizens. And just want to say it was a great time for the kids. Look forward to continuing that every year.
Councilmember Steinke.
Thank you, Mayor. On the 18th of October, I attended the Business and Industry Roundtable. The people there, and the focus of that meeting was on our local contractors and the construction industry within the city. I thought that was a really, really good meeting. A lot of issues got on the table. Staff was well prepared to answer questions and deal with our construction industry. On the 28th of October, I also participated with our youth council. Their senior project is to actually kind of spread the word on students and youth with their understanding of government and how our city is run. And so their project was to go around to all the cities, to the city's schools, and make presentations in front of student government and all others that were interested in hearing. And as their liaison, I played a role in that and spoke before the Ida Baker student government and others that attended that meeting. It was a pleasure to do that. And lastly, I'd like to thank staff. We make a lot of rulings here. Certainly there's controversies that come up, and I think sometimes we forget about all we really do accomplish and the things that are making our city more beautiful, attracting people here, increasing infrastructure. While it may not go at the speed that some would like, tremendous amounts of infrastructure improvement are made, beautification is made, and our city staff was able to assemble from all of our departments a tremendous summary, and I've got it on camera for those that are watching at home. There are some of these that are printed up. It's just been placed on our website. You can find it on the website under Government and City Manager. It's on that opening page of the City Manager page inside of the website, and it outlines front and back just 1 year of all of the improvements, all of the things that the leadership of council and the tremendously hard work of staff and all of our city employees that have put into making our city a better place. And I would encourage, it's a quick read, a good read, and it's absolutely nothing but facts. And so you can forget about the rhetoric, and you can actually look at the facts. And it's hard to argue with them. And so staff, thank you for putting this together for the purposes of our citizens being able to see all that's been accomplished. That's for me.
Okay. Councilmember Carr.
No report.
Councilmember Cosden.
No report.
Councilmember Hayden.
No report.
Councilmember Long.
No report.
Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. Briefly, as you probably have seen, there has been some communications from someone that represents individuals located near J.C. Park regarding allegations that there are either migratory birds that are nesting within the trees that are being removed and or eagles. I want to let you know that based upon those allegations, we did have our environmental biologist go out yesterday and verify that that is not in fact true, that there are no nest sites of bald eagles, there are no migratory birds. More importantly, today we went out there again with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, an officer, and verified that there is in fact nothing except for one possibility, and we are just going to verify that that is in fact not an active nest. So based upon everything that you have received from this lawyer, it does appear that there was false allegations that were made by those individuals, and I wanted you all to know, make sure that the public is aware of that as well.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to circle back to myself. I forgot myself in the reports. Back on 10/17, I participated in the Southwest Florida League of Cities Executive Committee meeting. Also on 10/17, I attended the 39th Oktoberfest welcome party. I believe Councilmember Hayden was there. I think that was it, just you and I. And also on the 18th, I attended the opening ceremonies for the 39 Oktoberfest, where I presented a proclamation and tapped the first keg of beer. And also this morning, I attended the ribbon cutting for the Thrive Academy, which is also Family Initiative, their new facility, which is a great facility. They provide a awesome service here to our community. They are surely growing and fulfilling a need for our community. So I'm glad to see them doing well as well. The other thing I wanted to ask for was a second to work on a ordinance with the city attorney's office. As you know, the state regulation on campaigning at any campaign site is 150 feet. I know I've gotten several complaints regarding that. So what I would like to do is work with the city attorney's office. I have asked the city attorney if we are allowed to expand that 150 feet, as long as we are making state statute more restrictive, which we would be doing, that is allowed. We couldn't reduce the 150 feet. So with that, I'd like to ask for a second to work with the city attorney's office on drafting that ordinance, and I'll bring it back to the new council.
Second.
All right, thank you. And Mr. City Manager, report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As discussed earlier, you mentioned I would hereby request to officially cancel the scheduled November 13th, 2024 Committee of the Whole and replace it with the December 4th, 2024 Committee of the Whole beginning at 9 a.m. in council chambers.
Okay, and with that, I'll open up for a motion to make that change.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Carr?
Aye.
Costin?
Aye.
Gunter?
Aye.
Hayden?
Aye.
Long?
Aye.
Shepherd? Aye. Steinke?
Aye.
7 ayes, motion carried.
Okay.
A couple more, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
I was going to mention the fiscal year by the numbers, but Councilmember Steinke took care of that. Also wanted to mention our on-the-move light is out hitting mailboxes. Goes through some of the budget highlights on the front page and enclosing some of the special events that we have moving forward. Also want to mention that we'll be hosting a waste collection event Saturday, November 2nd from 7 to 11 a.m. at the City Hall parking lot. This is a bulk and household chemical waste collection event. So the idea is that residents are encouraged to bring items that can be donated for reuse. That would be for the bulk side. And then if you have chemical waste, we're partnering with Habitat, with Lee County Solid Waste to get rid of those items. We are going to be closed for Veterans Day on Monday, November 11th in observance of Veterans Day. And we are hosting a water conservation town hall for residents and homeowners Tuesday, November 12th from 6 to 7 p.m. here in council chambers. And then lastly, I had a meeting with the South Florida Water Management District this afternoon. City attorney, myself, and our utility staff. If you have been paying attention to the aquifer updates that Jeff has been sending, you may notice that well where we have imposed some irrigation restrictions and some reduced or enhanced restrictions on water consumption, that aquifer has not recovered as it normally would during a rainy season. Now, it was observed throughout the district, and so there is concern that if we see a drop-off come in the dry season over the upcoming months, that we could be entering into an area that we need to take further measures on. So I just want to prep you for that now. We're going to have a follow-up meeting with them in 2 weeks to discuss what an off-ramp may look like and what measures may be on the table for consideration. But when you see the next update, you will kind of see that there was no recovery as was observed in the previous years. It was basically a flat line. They did confirm to us today that they had USGS out and checked checked the well, checked all the metering equipment. It is not they verified that the reading is accurate and the recordings have been accurate. So we're not seeing what we would have liked to have seen coming out of rainy season, and so some other measures are going to be likely in play. I did mention to them that we are fast tracking the North Water Rec facility, and we are looking at flipping areas 4 and 5 with area 6. They were very pleased to hear that. They did indicate that they would like to see the map updated, so at some point here in the near future, we may be bringing to you the UEP map to officially change 4 and 5's timing with 6, so that is out there and known. We are going to be sending to them some records showing that we have in our financial model for our rates, the funding of the North Water Rec Plant that would take the flow from 6. So the discussion generally was more to come. And in a few more weeks, when we kind of go through that exercise, I'll be discussing that all with you. Probably do one-on-ones first and then bring something forward in a cow. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Steinke. I see your light on.
Yes, thank you. I couldn't help but make sure that we made mention of a milestone, and that is that our new racket club facility just completed its 60-day opening, if you will, where we had founding members available to have special membership rates during that period in time. And in this very chamber where very passionate presentations were made that no one will join, no one should pay a fee, this is nothing that the city wants, and with our management company that said that the performer that was built for that club to be successful required 620 members. I am happy to announce, being a member and receiving their newsletter, that at the conclusion of the first 60 days, we now have 1,900 members. So on behalf of myself and my council members and all staff, we are very happy to have brought a center to the public that the public certainly has demonstrated that they did want it. They do join, and if you go there any time of day, everybody's there having a blast. So hats off to the staff there at the Racket Center for making the people feel at home and running a great facility and the great response that we've gotten from the citizens.
Okay, item 13, time, place of future meeting. We have a committee of the whole scheduled. Actually, it was canceled for November 13, 2024, so that meeting has been canceled. We have a regular meeting of the Cape Coral City Council scheduled for Wednesday, November 20th at 4:30 p.m. here in council chambers. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Meeting adjourned.